up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you are by chance new here, my name is Marshall, and as always we are back to work on Lizzie. If you haven't watched any previous videos, this is Lizzie, my 1951 Dodge Coronet that is body swapped onto a 2003 Ford Crown Victoria P71 chassis. And last video, as you saw, we were working on interior, and I mentioned that we are back on the 20s. So let me give you a brief recap of the wheel situation. So we had on the black 16-inch Steelies that were originally on the Crown Vic, and I originally pulled those off and bought these 20-inch Steelies. They are from US Wheel. They are 20 by 8s, 3 3/4 inches of back spacing in the back, and I custom ordered the fronts with 4 3/4 of back spacing. When I first started driving the car, I was having some pretty bad problems where the front tires were rubbing pretty badly, so I pulled those off and stuck the 16-inch Crown Vic Steelies on, and just because they don't rub, at least very, very little, and they ride nice. So those are kind of the daily driver setup. Recently, I wanted to, I had a car show that I went to and actually ended up getting a trophy, placed in the top 25, so nothing prestigious, but it's kind of cool. So anyway, so I threw the 20s back on, and I did some trimming on the front fenders. So I basically just opened up the opening along the top, and they don't rub as bad. Sharp turning, they do still rub, but it is drivable for the most part, and I think it looks really good with these wheels. The center caps are from 60s Plymouth cars. Got those off of eBay. And I think it matches the car really well. They're just bare steel currently. A couple of them I had clear coated just because I'm not sure what color I am going to do them in yet. So that's kind of where we're at on the wheel situation. So what I'm going to be working on now, we've got some suspension parts in the front end that I need to replace. Recently I noticed I was having a pretty bad clunk in the front end, especially when braking. And then also it was handling a little bit weird. So I jacked the car up, and I found that the upper control arm, the front bushing, was completely shot, had a ton of wear, a ton of play in it. And then I also found that the sway bar end link on this side was completely broken in half, probably rusted. So first thing I'm going to do is get to replacing these parts. We got them off of Rock Auto. And so I'm going to get the car jacked up, get the wheel pulled off, and we're going to proceed to pull the front suspension apart on this side. All right, so I'm going to start by pulling off the caliper and the caliper mount, and then the rotor. Get stuff, and then there's also a nut for the sway bar end link that is behind the rotor. So alright, set that there. And the rotors are definitely getting worn as well. So we definitely need to be doing a brake job before too long as well. So right in here is the stud that we're going to pop out. Make sure the wheel bearing doesn't have any play. Pop out for the sway bar end link. What size is that? A little bit smaller. And then so you can see right in there, the bushing kind of sticking out there, how badly that's shot. And so then I may also have to pull out the strut. So there are, up underneath the hood, there are 3 nuts, and then there is a bolt at the bottom there to pop out, and then we can pull the strut out. Go. Got our nuts loose at the top. And let's see here. And maybe we can get by without even pulling the complete strut out. The reason I was doing this is, show you guys my light. There's bolts that go from the inside out with nuts on the outside. So I have to knock those bolts out, but I actually may be able to have room behind it now with the strut kind of forward to get those out. So we'll give it a try. All right, so we got our nuts on each side there, loose. They came apart nicely. The bolts are sliding out nicely. They're not frozen in. And so now I need to pull what's left of the sway bar end link out. That way I can get to the lower ball joint nut right there. And then we should be able to pop the upper control arm out. All right, so that was definitely a little bit of a pain. The bottom ball joint nut didn't want to come loose and it was just spinning. So I ended up taking the grinder, cutting a little slot in the nut, and then it came out. So now let's see if we can pull these nuts off. Now, control arm should just slide right out. That's like that. Oh wow, all right. All right, so you can see, yeah, that bushing is very, very shot. Back one's not as bad, but yeah. All right, so there's that one. Here was the 2 pieces of the sway bar end link. It had simply broken, apparently right in there. So, yep, got the old stuff out. So, might do a little bit of cleaning up, and then we'll throw the new parts in here. All right, so here is our new control arm. And also our sway bar end link. Yeah, that's definitely an improvement. And so then you can see the control arm bolts, they're flat on one side, so they go in like that, and then they go against the frame, and then it keeps them from spinning. So that's handy. Thankfully, the bolts are in really good shape. The nuts are in good shape. So thankfully, we can just reuse all that, which is pretty good, seeing as how this was an Ohio car, where we deal with a lot of rust, bad roads in winter. So happy this stuff came apart the way it did. Like I said, the upper ball joint is a little bit of a pain, but not too bad. So I'm going to start throwing this stuff back together. Good morning, guys. So last night we got the suspension almost done, and this morning I just finished buttoning this thing up. So I turned on here. So we got the new upper control arm in, and we've got the new sway bar end link in there. So I just finished tightening everything up, and then we were able to reuse the little plastic clips that clip onto the control arm that hold the ABS line, so that fit well. So yeah, got everything torqued back up. So I'm going to throw the wheel back on, and we're going to call this job done. Alright, so we finally got those panels finished up. You can see in here, panel that runs along the side there, then also the one on this side. And so now the next thing I'm going to do in continuing with finishing the interior is finally pull out the center console, and we are going to paint it finally. There we go. All right. Alright, so if you guys don't remember, this is a console out of I think it was early 2000s Ford Explorer that I had pulled out of the junkyard. We had done some trimming along the top here to get it to fit tight underneath the Crown Vic dash. But otherwise, it's worked really nicely. Nice little cubby here, 2 cup holders, cigarette lighter which has not been hooked up, and then plenty of space for stuff in there. So overall, if you have a Crown Vic, Explorer consoles fit really nicely with a little bit of trimming, and really useful. So what we're going to start with is 2 things. I am going to do this the same way that I did the dash, and so far that's held up really well. We are going to start with some Scotch-Brite, go over the whole thing to rough it up a little bit. We're going to spray it with some Bulldog adhesion promoter, and then some SEM Landau black paint, and we'll give it a couple coats of that. Like I said, same thing I did on the dash. That looks good, and so this way it'll match nicely. So I'm going to get started with Scotch-Briting this. Alright, so we got this thing all Scotch-Brited and cleaned. So now we're going to start with the adhesion promoter. And it's just going to be a fairly light coat. All right, so we gave this 2 light coats of the adhesion promoter, and waited about 10 minutes, and now we're going to start to spray some color on it. Alright, so I let this thing dry all day, and it came out pretty good. Some of the smooth areas, it's not perfect, but otherwise it came out nice. We did the top. And then we also did the little panel there that goes right in the back there. So let's throw this thing back in.
Alright, so we also got to get our wires fished back through here. A little bit of a mess.
Alright, now to fit our final piece in here. That. Nice. Alright, one last final touch, and that is the little rubber insert that goes in. Just like that. We are set. Very nice. So you can see it fits the dash quite nicely. Both sides. I have little bolts down in there on either side, and down in there, you can't see it, but it's down in there that hold the front. So yeah, I'm happy to have that job done. It matches everything nicely. It looks like it belongs. All right, so we got that finally wrapped up. That's been something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Just one of those little details. Kind of takes some time for me to finally get it done, but it looks good. I'm happy with it. So I'm going to wrap this episode up with that. And in the next episode, it's going to be a good one. I'm finally doing something to the car that I've wanted to do for a long time. I have some of the parts for it, and some of them should be coming within the next couple days. So I am very excited for that. So tune in, and you'll get to see that. So thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you in the next one.